Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Nature Channel. Tonight, we are going on a quiet journey together. We are going to wander very softly into one of the most peaceful and beautiful landscapes on Earth, the open African savanna. The sky there is enormous. It goes on and on in every direction, a pale gold in the late afternoon, the grasses bending just slightly in a warm, unhurried wind. And somewhere out in that wide golden world, a herd of zebras is grazing. They move slowly, their heads dipping down toward the grass and lifting again, their tails swishing in a lazy, rhythmic way. And all across their bodies, those famous stripes, black and white, bold and beautiful, simple and endlessly mysterious. Tonight, we are going to spend our time with the zebra. We are going to ask one of nature's most gentle questions. Why do zebras have stripes? And the answer, it turns out, is not one single thing. It is many things, woven together like the stripes themselves, one flowing into the next. There is no rush to any of it. Every fact we explore tonight will come to you softly, like the sound of grass moving in the breeze. Let your breathing slow, let your shoulders drop, and let the savanna open up around you, wide and warm and wonderfully still. The zebra standing closest to you lifts its head. It looks in your direction with calm, dark eyes, and then it looks away again, back toward the grass, unbothered, at ease. You are welcome here. This is a place of peace. Let's begin. Every zebra in the world is striped. There is not a single zebra alive anywhere that is born without those markings. It is one of the things that makes the zebra so quietly extraordinary, that this pattern, so bold, so unmistakable, is simply part of what it means to be a zebra at all. The stripes run from nose to tail. They wrap around the neck, cross the shoulders, travel down the legs, and even appear on the face, right there between the eyes, in thin little lines that make each zebra's expression look thoughtful and calm. Some stripes are wide, some are narrow, some bend gently around the curves of the body, following the shape of muscle and bone in a way that seems almost deliberate, almost graceful. A zebra's coat is not actually white with black stripes, nor black with white stripes. Scientists still debate which is the background color, but what they do know is that beneath all of that, the zebra's skin is dark. If you could look beneath the fur, the skin underneath the white stripes would be just as dark as the skin beneath the black. The color lives in the fur itself, not in the skin below. Each individual hair on a zebra's body is either fully pigmented or fully unpigmented. There is no gradual fading, no blurring between the two. Each hair has made a simple, quiet decision, dark or light. And the result of millions of those small decisions is the sweeping, flowing pattern we see. Scientists have studied the genetics of zebra stripes for decades now, and one of the things they have found is that the stripes are determined very early. While the zebra is still just a tiny developing creature, weeks before it is even born. The pattern is laid down so early, so gently, in those first quiet weeks of life. Imagine that, the stripe pattern you will wear your whole life. decided in the softest, most silent moments of your beginning, settled into you before you ever saw the sun. A warm wind moves through the grass around you. The zebra herd shifts slowly, unhurried. Somewhere in the distance, an acacia tree stands alone on the flat horizon, its flat-topped branches perfectly still. If you are enjoying this tonight, it would mean a lot if you left a like on the video. It helps more people find their way to this quiet place. And if you are new here, there is a whole playlist of peaceful nature stories waiting for you. You can find it linked nearby. But for now, just stay here with me and breathe. Charles Darwin, the great naturalist who spent his life asking careful, gentle questions about the natural world, was puzzled by zebra stripes. He wrote about them. He wondered about them. He could not quite settle on an answer. And that, in its own way, is rather reassuring. Some of nature's most beautiful mysteries take a long time to unfold. Darwin noticed that the stripes of zebras seemed, on the surface, to be the opposite of useful. If you are a large animal living on an open plain, bold black and white stripes do not seem like the best way to stay invisible. A lion can see you from a great distance. You do not blend into the golden grass, and yet every zebra has them. Every zebra has always had them, which means they must be doing something. The question of why zebras have stripes became, over the following century and a half, one of the most studied and debated questions in animal biology. Scientists proposed theory after theory. Some ideas were elegant, some were surprising. Some turned out to be only partly true, and some are still being gently argued over today. There are, broadly, 4 main ideas. The first is that the stripes confuse predators, particularly lions and leopards, in some way. The second is that the stripes help zebras regulate their body temperature in the intense African heat. The third is that the stripes somehow repel biting insects. And the fourth is that the stripes help zebras recognize one another, communicate, and bond as a herd. Each of these ideas has evidence behind it. Each of them has quiet little moments of proof woven through years of careful observation. And the most likely truth is that stripes do several things at once. That nature, as it so often does, found one elegant solution that solved many problems together. Nature is good at that, finding one beautiful answer that takes care of many things at once. You take a slow breath. The savanna around you is beginning to soften into early evening. The light is turning a deeper gold, and the shadows are growing long and gentle. A zebra nearby flicks its ear. Another leans its head against a companion's neck for just a moment. A small and quiet gesture of belonging. Let us think for a moment about what the world looks like through a lion's eyes. Because understanding the predator is one of the keys to understanding why the zebra's stripes might, in fact, be doing something very clever. Lions are not colorblind exactly, but their color vision is much more limited than ours. Where we see a rich, vivid world of greens and golds and blues, a lion sees something closer to muted yellows and grays. The deep, saturated difference between black and white that seems so obvious to you and me looks to a lion considerably more similar in tone. In the soft, hazy light of early morning or late evening, which is exactly when lions most often hunt, the contrast of zebra stripes is reduced even further. The shimmer of heat on the savanna, the golden dust hanging in the air, the long grasses waving, all of these things create a kind of visual noise. And into that visual noise, a moving herd of striped animals can become, to a lion's eyes, surprisingly difficult to read. This is not full invisibility. Lions can still see zebras, of course. But what the stripes may do is make it harder for a predator to focus on a single individual. When a herd is moving together, the stripes of dozens of zebras flowing and flickering and overlapping create something that researchers call a motion dazzle effect. The eye struggles to lock onto one clear outline, one clear moving target. Think of it like looking at a river. You can see that water is moving, but if you try to follow one single ripple, your eye keeps losing it, keeps jumping to another. A herd of running zebras may create something like that. A rippling, flickering confusion that makes it genuinely hard to pick one out. Experiments with humans playing simple computer games have shown that striped moving targets really are harder to catch than plain ones. The stripes disrupt our ability to judge speed and direction. And if it works on human eyes, it likely works in some form on the eyes of a hunting cat. The sun is dipping lower. The light turns amber. The zebra herd moves together across the plain, and for a moment, looking at them all, moving at once, you understand what the lion sees, the flowing, undulating pattern, one creature blending into the next, a softly shifting world. There is another idea about zebra stripes that is quieter and more internal, something that happens not between the zebra and the outside world, but within the zebra's own body, in the gentle management of warmth and cool. The African savanna is one of the hottest landscapes on Earth. At midday, temperatures can rise to levels that would quickly exhaust an unprotected creature. Large animals like zebras and wildebeest and elephants spend a significant portion of their energy just trying to stay cool, keeping their body temperature stable in conditions that push hard against that stability. It has been suggested and studied with real curiosity that the black and white stripes of a zebra may help with this in a subtle and rather beautiful way. Black absorbs heat. White reflects it. That much is simple physics. But what is more interesting is what might happen along the boundary between the two. Some researchers have observed that on warm days, the air just above a zebra's black stripes heats up faster than the air above its white stripes. This difference in temperature along tiny, thin strips running all across the body might create tiny microcurrents of air, small, gentle convections, where the warmer air lifts away from the dark stripe and slightly cooler air moves in to replace it. In theory, this could create a kind of constant, very gentle circulation of air across the zebra's coat, a self-generated breeze, so soft you would barely feel it if you held your hand near the surface. Not a dramatic cooling, but a steady, quiet one. A small, ongoing kindness that the pattern performs for the animal that wears it. Whether this effect is large enough to make a meaningful difference is still debated. Science is honest about what it does not yet fully know. But there is something lovely in the idea of it, that the very same pattern that confuses predators might also, on a long hot afternoon, keep its wearer just a little more comfortable. You feel the imagined warmth of the savanna settling around you like a blanket. It is not too hot where you are. It is exactly right. The evening air is beginning to cool just slightly, and it is perfect. If this kind of peaceful storytelling feels right to you, do take a moment to explore the Sleepy Nature playlist. There are more journeys waiting there, just as quiet and unhurried as this one. Here is one of the most surprising chapters in the story of zebra stripes, a chapter that scientists came to only relatively recently, and that turned out to have some of the most compelling experimental evidence of all. Zebras share the savanna with a creature far smaller than themselves, and yet far more persistently troublesome: the biting fly. Horseflies and tsetse flies in particular are not merely an irritation. They carry diseases. The tsetse fly is the vector for sleeping sickness, a serious illness. Horseflies bite aggressively and can cause infection and blood loss, particularly in young animals. For large mammals on the open plains, biting flies are a constant and genuine challenge. In 2019, a team of researchers in the United Kingdom ran a careful experiment. They dressed horses, regular plain-colored horses, in black and white striped coats. Then they observed how flies behaved around the striped horses compared to the unstriped ones standing nearby. The results were striking. Flies approached the striped horses just as often as the unstriped ones. They seemed to be attracted in equal numbers from a distance. But when it came to actually landing, the striped coat disrupted them. The flies would approach, come close, and then veer away or fail to land cleanly, far more often than with the plain coats. Why? The researchers believe it has to do with how flies process movement. When a fly approaches a surface to land, it uses subtle optical cues to judge how to touch down, how to slow itself and make contact. The black and white stripes may interfere with these cues. They may create an optical effect that makes it difficult for the fly to coordinate its landing, a bit like trying to step onto an escalator that keeps shifting. Real zebras in the wild have been observed doing something that seems consistent with this. They are known to be unusually restless animals, twitching their skin, shaking their heads, swishing their tails almost constantly. They seem to be less tolerant of flies, even landing near them, than horses or donkeys are. And it has been suggested that this vigilance, combined with the stripe effect, gives them some genuine protection. The evening insects are beginning to hum softly around you, not flies, but the gentle chorus of crickets and small things that belong to dusk. It is a peaceful sound, the kind of sound that tells you the day is settling in, the world is calming down, and you are safe. No two zebras in the world have exactly the same stripes. This is one of those facts that, once you know it, changes the way you look at a herd. What seemed at first glance like a uniform pattern, all those zebras, all striped the same, resolves, on closer looking, into a whole gathering of individuals, each one wearing something entirely their own. The differences are real and meaningful. One zebra might have stripes that are broader across the shoulders, narrower on the legs. Another might have a stripe that curves in a small particular loop just behind the ear. Some zebras have what are called shadow stripes, faint, slightly brownish bands that appear in the white spaces between the main black stripes, visible only in certain lights, like a secret written lightly between the lines. The pattern on the belly may differ from the pattern on the back. The stripes on the hindquarters often have a more diagonal lean than those elsewhere. And the face is perhaps the most individual part of all. The arrangement of stripes between a zebra's eyes is as unique as a fingerprint. Zebras, it turns out, use this individuality. Foals, young zebras just days old, learn to recognize their own mother by her stripe pattern. In the first hours after birth, a mother zebra will often position herself so that the foal can see only her, allowing the pattern to imprint clearly. She may even block other zebras from coming too close during this quiet window of learning. Later, as the foal grows, it will recognize its mother across the herd from some distance, not just by sound or smell, but by sight. The stripe pattern becomes a familiar shape, a known and trusted outline, like learning to recognize a beloved face. And in a herd of dozens or even hundreds of zebras, this matters. Being able to look up from grazing and immediately find your family, to not have to search, to simply see, is a small but steady source of ease. You know that feeling, looking up in a crowded place and finding a familiar face, feeling the quiet relief of it. Zebras know it too. The stripes of a zebra are not painted on from the outside. They are grown from within, from the very first cells of life, in a process that is quiet and intricate and rather beautiful to contemplate. Inside the developing embryo of a zebra, in the early weeks, when the creature is still tiny and curled and forming, cells called melanocytes begin their work. Melanocytes are the cells responsible for pigment in skin and fur in most mammals, including in us. They carry and distribute melanin, the molecule of color. In the zebra embryo, the melanocytes begin moving across the skin in waves. The timing and spacing of these waves and certain chemical signals that either activate or suppress the melanocytes as they travel create the alternating bands of dark and light. Where the melanocytes are active and depositing pigment, the hair that eventually grows will be dark. Where the signal is suppressed, the hair will grow without pigment and appear white. This process is controlled by a type of biological mechanism that the mathematician Alan Turing first described mathematically in the 1950s. He was thinking about how patterns form in nature, how spots and stripes and waves arise from the interaction of simple chemical signals spreading at different rates. A fast-spreading inhibitor and a slow-spreading activator working together can create remarkably regular, remarkably beautiful patterns. The same type of mechanism that stripes a zebra may also be responsible for the spots of a leopard, the dappling of a fallow deer, the banding of a tiger. Nature finds a beautiful system and uses it again and again, in different keys, in different tempos. What moves you about this, perhaps, is how early it is decided. Before the zebra has eaten a single blade of grass, before it has felt the sun or smelled rain coming, before it has done anything at all, the pattern is already there, settled quietly into every hair, every cell, already complete. Something about that feels deeply restful, as if some things, the most important things, are simply given to us before we have to worry about them at all. Leave a comment below tonight if something in this story surprised you. It is always a joy to hear what finds its way through. There is not just one kind of zebra. There are three, and they are each a little different. Different in where they live, different in the character of their stripes, different in the particular quiet rhythms of their lives. The first is the plains zebra, the most numerous, the one most people picture when they think of zebras. Plains zebras live across the broad grasslands of eastern and southern Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Botswana, South Africa. They are the zebras of the great migrations, the ones you might see in vast numbers moving together across the Serengeti. Their stripes are bold and relatively wide, and many of them have those shadow stripes in the white spaces, giving them a softly layered look. The second is the Gravy's zebra, the largest of the three, a more solitary creature that lives in the semi-arid grasslands of Ethiopia and northern Kenya. Gravy's zebras have much narrower stripes, many more of them very finely spaced, and their belly is white without stripes at all. They look at a distance like they are wearing a different, more intricate pattern, as if someone took the same design and drew it with a finer pen. The third is the mountain zebra, which lives, as its name suggests, in the more rugged, rocky landscapes of southern Africa, the mountains of Namibia and South Africa. Mountain zebras are smaller and more sturdy built. They have a distinctive feature, a small rectangular patch of bare skin on their nose, and a slightly different arrangement of stripes on the hindquarters that forms a pattern sometimes called a gridiron. Each of these three zebras developed its stripes independently, shaped by the particular world it lived in, the particular grasses and predators and insects and temperatures of its home. And yet, all three ended up striped, which suggests that somewhere in the deep logic of the savanna and the steppe and the mountain slope, stripes are always a good answer. Nature arriving at the same solution from three different directions, like three different paths leading quietly to the same clearing. The last light of evening is gold on the grass now. The sky at the horizon has turned the softest shade of rose. Zebras are herd animals in the deepest sense. They are not simply animals that happen to gather together for safety. They are creatures whose whole way of being is woven into the presence of others. A plains zebra herd is built around small family units. At the center of each unit is a single adult male, a stallion, and a group of mares and their young. These family units are stable. The mares may stay together with the same stallion for years, for decades. They know each other deeply in the way that creatures who have weathered many seasons together come to know one another. The foals grow up surrounded by familiar faces. They play together, resting in the midday heat with their legs folded beneath them, their heads drooping. They groom each other, a behavior that is as much about comfort and bonding as it is about keeping the coat clean. Two zebras will stand side by side, head to tail, and gently nibble along each other's neck and withers, in that slow, rhythmic way that seems to say simply, "I am here. You are not alone." Stripes play a role in all of this. Researchers believe that the pattern a foal memorizes in its first hours of life, the particular arrangement of its mother's stripes, is the beginning of a larger visual vocabulary. As the zebra grows, it learns to read the stripes of the herd around it, to recognize familiar individuals, to understand something about mood and movement from the way another zebra holds itself. There is evidence that when zebras are distressed, when a predator is near, they tend to cluster more tightly, pressing together so that their stripes create that dazzling, confusing visual field we talked about earlier. But when the danger has passed, they spread out again, comfortable, each one moving through the world with a little more ease, knowing the herd is nearby. Safety in numbers, comfort in proximity, the warmth of being known. You know something about that too. The feeling of being in the company of those who know you well, and how much lighter everything becomes. Zebras are creatures of the open sky, deeply connected to the rhythms of rain and dry season that shape the savanna. And there is something lovely about imagining them through the year, through the full turning of seasons, in all the different lights and weathers they move through. In the dry season, the savanna turns golden and brown. The grasses dry to pale straw. Waterholes shrink. Zebras spend more time traveling to find water, walking in long, quiet lines across the dusty plain. In that dry, bleached landscape, their stripes seem even more vivid, that sharp, clear pattern against the muted earth. Then the rains come. The first rains of the wet season are a dramatic thing. The sky darkens, the air changes, and then the rain arrives in warm, heavy curtains. The earth smells different immediately. The dust releases its long-held memory of moisture, and zebras, like most large animals of the savanna, seem to feel the change deeply. They run, not from danger, just from the feeling of it. They gallop and buck and shake their heads, and the rain runs in rivulets down their stripes, tracing the pattern in dark lines of water. After heavy rain, the savanna blooms quickly. New grass pushes up within days. The waterholes fill. And for the zebras, the wet season is a time of abundance. Green grass as far as the eye can see, full bellies, and foals born into a world that feels, for a little while, generously supplied. There is a particular kind of morning that comes after a night of rain. The air is washed clean, the light is bright and fresh. The grasses glitter with drops that have not yet evaporated. A zebra standing in morning light after rain is a beautiful sight. The coat still slightly damp, the stripes even darker and sharper than usual, the whole creature looking somehow newly made. Let that image settle with you. A zebra in morning light, fresh rain on the grass, the whole plain stretching away clean and bright and quiet. There is a whole playlist of evenings like this one waiting for you. Gentle stories, peaceful places, the quiet of nature in every form. It is there whenever you need it. Zebras are part of a very old family. The family Equidae, the horses, has existed on Earth for around 55 million years. The earliest members of this family were small, forest-dwelling creatures, nothing like the sweeping plains animals we know today. But over those long, slow millions of years, they grew, changed, spread across continents, adapted to new landscapes. The ancestor that zebras, horses, and donkeys all share was alive roughly 4 to 4.5 million years ago. From that single lineage, the three main groups branched off. The true horses moving into the steppes of Asia and Europe, the donkeys into the arid landscapes of North Africa and Arabia, and the zebras into the great grasslands of sub-Saharan Africa. For all those millions of years, somewhere in Africa, there have been striped horses. Long before there were cities, long before there were books or clocks or any of the complicated business of human civilization, there were zebras moving across a grassland that looked not so very different from the one we are imagining tonight. The same wide sky, the same gold grass, the same insects humming, the same predators waiting in the same patient way. There is something deeply settling about that kind of deep time. The idea that this stripe pattern, this one elegant solution to so many problems, has been traveling through the world for millions of years, has been worn by thousands upon thousands of generations, has been faithfully passed from mother to foal to foal to foal across all of that unimaginable length of time. It was already ancient before any human eye ever saw it. And yet, here we are in the gentle hush of this evening, thinking about it together, marveling at something the world made long, long before us, and has been quietly carrying ever since. Your breathing is slow now. The savanna night is gentle. A half moon has risen, pale and calm, and the grass is silver. Behind every fact we have explored tonight, there are people, scientists and researchers who spent years, sometimes whole careers, quietly watching and asking and puzzling over zebras. There is something peaceful in thinking about them too, the patience their work requires, the deep attention. Tim Caro is one of the scientists most associated with the modern study of zebra stripes. He spent years in the field, in Tanzania, observing zebra behavior up close, comparing populations of zebras in areas with different densities of biting flies, running careful, controlled studies. He wrote a whole book about stripes. He became, in a sense, a person whose life's work was the patient, systematic asking of one beautiful question. There is something admirable in that kind of focused devotion. Choosing one small thread of the natural world and pulling it gently, as carefully as you can, for as long as it takes. Other researchers have contributed to different corners of the picture. Biologists in Hungary ran experiments with zebra-striped plastic models coated in adhesive to measure how many horseflies landed on them compared to dark or light solid-colored models. They found that the striped models attracted fewer landings, a result that held up across multiple experiments, adding quiet weight to the insect repulsion idea. Zoologists studying thermoregulation took careful temperature measurements of zebra coats in field conditions. Geneticists mapped the specific genes that control stripe patterning and compared them across the three species. Behavioral ecologists watched herds for hundreds of hours, noting how zebras used their stripes in social interactions, in greeting, in the particular way they orient themselves toward or away from one another. All of this work, carried out in quiet dedication over decades, notebooks filled with observations, hours of stillness in field hides, waiting, gradual, unhurried understanding being built, one small piece at a time. Science, at its best, is very much like that. Not a dramatic revelation, but a slow, patient gathering of light. Let a thought of gratitude move through you for all the patient people who have spent their lives paying careful attention to the world. The sun has set over our imagined savanna now. The last of the amber has drained from the sky and been replaced by a deep, velvety blue, and then by the full quiet of night. The stars are coming out, one by one, unhurried. On the African savanna at night, a herd of zebras does something lovely. They do not wander far. They gather more closely, coming in from their grazing, settling into proximity with one another. Some will stand together in small clusters. The foals press close to their mothers. The adults stand at slight angles to each other, not quite touching, but near enough. This is a kind of sleeping. Zebras, like horses, can sleep standing up. They lock the joints in their legs in a way that lets them rest without lying down, staying alert enough to respond quickly if something nearby changes. But they also lie down on their sides, truly sleeping, usually for just a few hours, usually in the early morning when the rest of the herd is awake and watchful around them. There is something moving about that. Lying down completely is a vulnerable thing for a large prey animal. It takes trust. It takes the presence of others willing to stay watchful while you let yourself go fully soft. The herd makes that possible. In the company of those who know you, you can lie down and fully rest. Tonight, in the dark, the stripes of the herd are quieter. In moonlight, the contrast softens. The black and white sharpness dissolves into something gentler. A herd of large, breathing shapes gathered together in the dark, each one carrying its own ancient pattern like something worn close to the heart. The night sounds of the savanna are different from the day sounds. Crickets, yes. Somewhere far away, the low, rolling call of a lion. More of a sound you feel in your chest than hear in your ears. Occasional rustling in the dry grass nearby, something small passing through. The wing beats of a nightjar overhead, soft and brief. And over all of it, simply quiet. The large, companionable quiet of a world at rest. Your own breathing has slowed to match it. In and out. The night is here, and it is safe. As our night on the savanna deepens, let us let all of this settle together, not as a summary, not as a list of facts, but simply as a sense of the whole. A zebra's stripes are a predator confuser, making one impossible to separate cleanly from many in the shimmer and movement of the herd. They are a temperature keeper, perhaps. Those tiny, invisible breezes moving along the boundary between black and white. A self-contained coolness. They are a fly deterrent, disrupting the landing systems of biting insects with their geometry, their optical sleight of hand. They are a name, a signature, a way of being recognized and recognizing. The pattern your mother memorized in the first hours of your life. The pattern you learned to find across a crowded field. They are a language of belonging. What is beautiful about this is that none of these things cancel out the others. The stripes do not have to be one thing or another. They are simply what they are. And what they are happens to serve many purposes at once, in a way that feels almost generously designed. Nature does not waste. When it finds something that works, it keeps it, deepens it, finds new uses for it. The stripes have traveled through 4 million years of zebra generations, not because they solve one problem beautifully, but because they hold their ground against many problems at once. There is a kind of wisdom in that, in finding the thing that serves more than one purpose, in not forcing a single answer to carry the whole weight of a question. Let the stripes be many things. Let the answer be layered. Tonight, you have held the zebra's world gently in your mind. You have walked the savanna in your imagination. You have breathed in the dust and the rain and the night air. You have felt, in some small way, the particular quality of a world where everything belongs, where even the pattern on an animal's coat is woven into the whole, doing its quiet work. That is enough. That is more than enough. The herd is resting now. The savanna is still. The moon has moved across the sky while we have been sitting here together, and the stars have wheeled very slightly in their slow, ancient way. It is the deep part of the night, the part where even the most restless mind tends to grow still. Somewhere in the herd, a foal is sleeping on its side, fully surrendered to sleep, its legs folded loosely, its breathing slow and even. Beside it, its mother stands, awake and calm, her stripe pattern silver in the moonlight. She's not worried. She's simply present, simply there. You have learned tonight about a question that puzzled great scientists for more than a century, and about the gentle, layered answer that nature had been carrying all along, woven into every hair of every zebra that ever walked across a plain. You have thought about seeing and being seen, about belonging and protection, about the deep time of the world and the patient curiosity of the people who try to understand it. But you do not need to hold any of that now. You can let it drift, the way facts and stories do when you have held them gently and then let them go. They do not disappear. They simply settle somewhere inside you, quietly, like sediment settling in still water. Your body is heavy and easy. Your breathing is slow. The imagined warmth of the savanna is around you like a familiar blanket. You are safe. You are held. You are resting in the company of all the quiet creatures of the earth, the zebras and the crickets and the nightjars and the patient grasses, all of them resting with you in the large, unhurried dark. There is a sound in the zebra world that is not often written about, because it is very small. It is the sound of two zebras standing close together in the midday quiet, their heads lowered, their lips moving slowly through the hair of each other's neck and withers. A soft, rhythmic nibbling, almost like a whisper. Mutual grooming, the act of one animal carefully tending to another, is one of the most important social behaviors in the zebra's life. It is not just about cleanliness, though it does help keep the coat free of parasites and tangles. It is about something deeper than that, something that lives in the body's language long before words were ever invented. When two zebras groom each other, their heart rates slow. This has been measured in horses, the zebra's close relatives, and it holds true across the family. The body relaxes, the muscles soften. Whatever low-level alertness the animal was carrying, the background hum of being a creature in a world that contains predators, quiets down just a little in the warmth of that close attention. Zebras tend to groom partners they are close to, their mother, a sibling, a long-standing companion within the herd. The relationship is mutual, meaning both animals take turns. And the frequency of grooming between two individuals tends to reflect the depth of their bond. Zebras that groom each other often are zebras that stay near each other, that move together, that seem to seek each other out in moments of disturbance and calm alike. The stripes play a role here too, in a quiet way. Mutual grooming often involves attention to the neck and shoulders, exactly where the stripe pattern is most complex and individual. Whether zebras pay conscious attention to each other's patterns while grooming is not something science can easily measure. But the intimacy of the act, that close, patient attention given to the very surface that makes each animal unique, feels meaningful in its own right. There is a quality of attention in grooming that we recognize in ourselves, that slow, careful attending to someone we care about, brushing a child's hair, adjusting a collar, the small acts of care that say, without any words at all, I see you, I am here, you matter. Let that feeling settle into your body now. You are seen, you are tended, you are cared for in all the quiet ways that count. Twice a year, One of the most remarkable movements on Earth takes place across the plains of East Africa. The Great Migration, a journey undertaken by nearly 2 million wildebeest and hundreds of thousands of zebras, sweeps across the Serengeti in Tanzania and up into the Masai Mara in Kenya, and then back again, following the rains, following the fresh grass, in a great slow circle that has been turning for longer than human memory reaches. The zebras are not passengers in this migration. They are, in many ways, its pioneers. They are among the first animals to move as the season changes, pushing out ahead of the wildebeest, eating the long, tough, dry season grasses that the wildebeest would find difficult. The zebra's strong teeth and digestive systems handle coarse grass well. They prepare the way, cropping the long stalks so that the shorter, more nutritious growth comes through, creating conditions that make the land better for the animals that follow. At certain points in the migration route, the herds must cross rivers. The Mara River is the most famous crossing place, a wide, rushing, crocodile-inhabited stretch of water that the animals must navigate in great numbers. The crossings are always a moment of intensity, the animals pressing together at the bank, hesitating. And then, when one breaks and enters the water, the whole herd following in a churning flood. And in the water, the stripes become something quite different. The reflection of dozens of striped animals in the surface of the river, the movement of the current, the splashing of hundreds of legs. It creates a remarkable visual confusion, a flickering, churning pattern that seems designed to overwhelm and disorient. Whether this helps the zebras survive the crossing in any measurable way is hard to say, but the image of it, those bold black and white patterns fragmenting and reforming in the moving water, is one of the most striking things in the natural world. After the crossing, the animals that make it through shake the water from their coats and keep moving. The stripes emerge from the river unchanged, bright and clear, still exactly themselves. Some things pass through upheaval and come out the other side unaltered, quietly, steadily, exactly what they were. A zebra's day, when it is not being dramatic for wildlife documentaries, is largely made up of two things: eating and resting. This is a life of beautiful simplicity, and there is something restful about imagining it. The gentle turning of one activity into the other, the slow rhythm of a creature content in its own world. Zebras are grazers. Almost everything they eat is grass. Unlike some other savanna animals, they do not browse much on leaves or shrubs. They are committed to the ground, to the long, flat world of grass that stretches in every direction across their home. A zebra will spend up to 18 hours a day grazing when grass is abundant. 18 hours of slow, steady eating, moving a few steps, eating again. The grasses of the savanna are not all the same. Some are coarse and fibrous. Some are softer and more nutritious. Zebras eat both, but they show preferences. After rain, when new growth pushes up, bright, soft, tender, they seek it out with obvious pleasure. You can see it in the way they move, more purposeful, more focused, following the line of new green through the field. Their teeth are designed for grass, large, flat molars that grind the tough plant matter into a paste fine enough to digest. Zebra teeth grow throughout their lives because grazing on dusty savanna grasses gradually wears them down. The teeth wear and the teeth grow to meet the wearing, a quiet, self-renewing system that has been working perfectly for millions of years. Between grazing, zebras rest, standing rest, as we have talked about. The loose-jointed stillness, head slightly lowered, one hip dropped, eyes half closed, and lying down rest, the full surrender, the complete letting go. A zebra lying flat on the warm ground, legs folded or stretched, is a picture of extraordinary ease. The stripes, horizontal now, blend into the lines of light and shadow in the dry grass around them. They look, from a distance, almost like the grass itself has lain down to sleep. If you have been enjoying this journey through the savanna, a quiet like on the video helps carry these stories further. Thank you for being here. There are few things in the natural world more quietly miraculous than a newborn zebra foal finding its feet. It takes less than an hour. The foal arrives in the world on folded, uncertain legs, and within minutes it is already trying, lifting its head, tucking its legs beneath it, making the first wobbling attempts to rise. The mother stands close, low sounds moving between them, a private conversation that seems to contain everything necessary. Within 20 minutes, most foals are standing. Within an hour, many are taking their first careful steps. This urgency is not accidental. A foal that cannot stand and move within a few hours of birth is a foal that cannot follow the herd, cannot run. The pressure of the savanna has shaped this species to be quick about being born into the world. And the foal responds to that pressure with a kind of focused, unhesitating determination that is remarkable to watch. In those first quiet hours, something else important is happening. The foal is learning its mother, not just her smell, not just her voice, but her stripe pattern. Researchers have documented this imprinting carefully. The mother positions herself close, often standing between the foal and the rest of the herd, so that what the foal sees again and again in those early hours of its seeing is her specific arrangement of stripes, the particular curve on her shoulder, the way a stripe narrows just behind her ear, the small details that add up to the known, the safe, the home. This is a form of love that works through vision. Look at me, the mother's position says, without any words. Learn me, carry me with you, so that no matter how large the world becomes, no matter how many others surround you, you will always be able to find your way back. The foal's own stripes in those first days are slightly different from the adults. They tend to be browner, softer, less stark, less bold. As the foal grows, the coat darkens and the contrast sharpens, the full pattern emerging gradually over the first months of life. There is something very tender about that, arriving in the world in a softer version of yourself, and slowly, over time, growing into the full clarity of who you are. Nothing in the natural world exists entirely alone. Every creature is woven into a web of small relationships, most of them quiet and practical and ongoing, each one a thread in the larger fabric of the living world. One of the zebra's most visible companions is a small bird called the oxpecker. Red-billed oxpeckers and yellow-billed oxpeckers, both species are found across the African savanna, spend a significant portion of their lives quite literally on the backs of large mammals, on buffalo and rhinoceros, on giraffe and impala, and on zebras. An oxpecker on a zebra's back is doing something useful. It is searching through the coat for ticks and other parasites, picking them out with its strong, laterally flattened bill, eating them. A single oxpecker can consume hundreds of engorged ticks in a single day. For the zebra, this is an ongoing service. A small, busy attendant moving across the coat, taking care of exactly the kind of slow, irritating problem that would otherwise require constant self-grooming. Oxpeckers have another quality that makes them valuable companions. They are excellent alarm systems. They have sharp eyes, an elevated vantage point, and, crucially, they are alert to things the zebra's nose might not catch on a calm day. When an oxpecker suddenly takes flight from a zebra's back with an urgent, rattling alarm call, the zebra pays attention. The head comes up, the ears rotate, the herd stills. Often, the alert turns out to be nothing, a distant sound, a shape in the grass that was just a rock. But sometimes, it is not nothing, and the zebra's response has been saved precious seconds by its small, watchful friend. The relationship is described by scientists as a mutualism. Both parties benefit. The bird gets food and a platform. The zebra gets parasite control and an early warning system. But watching them together, the bird picking its careful way through those bold black and white stripes, pausing on a white stripe, and then stepping across to a black one. It seems like something softer than a transaction. It seems like simple, easy companionship. Two different creatures going about the shared business of living, neither asking more of the other than what is freely given. The zebra's stripes have not only been a puzzle for scientists, they have also found their way, quietly and persistently, into human art and story and symbol, across many cultures and many centuries. In several African traditions, the zebra holds a place of particular significance, not as a symbol of danger or power in the way that a lion might, but as a symbol of balance, of duality, of the coexistence of opposites, black and white, day and night. Two things that might seem opposed, but that, in the zebra, live together in perfect and beautiful harmony. The San people of southern Africa, one of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth, included zebras in their rock art. The ancient paintings found on cave and cliff walls across the subcontinent. These paintings, made with ochre and charcoal and animal fat, record a world in which humans and animals share the same space of attention, the same sacred significance. The zebra appears among them as simply one of the presences of the world, neither exalted nor diminished, just there, just itself, just striped. In more recent centuries, as European naturalists began cataloging the animals of Africa, the zebra consistently astonished the people who encountered it for the first time. Letters and journals from early travelers are full of wondering descriptions, attempts to capture in words what it felt like to see, for the first time, an animal that looked as if it had been carefully and deliberately painted. The stripes seemed to many observers almost impossible, too regular, too bold, too precise to be natural. And yet, natural is exactly what they are. Not designed, not painted, not imposed from outside, but grown from within, from the quiet intelligence of biology, from millions of years of gradual, patient becoming. There is something reassuring about that. The things that look most deliberate, most beautifully arranged, they often come from a process that is slow and unhurried and completely without intention. They come from nature simply working, simply moving forward, step by quiet step, toward whatever works. The playlist is always there whenever an evening like this one calls to you. More quiet corners of the natural world, more slow, unhurried stories, all waiting with no urgency at all. To be a zebra is to be very awake to the world, not in a tense or fearful way. Zebras, when they are undisturbed, are genuinely relaxed creatures, easy in their bodies, unhurried in their movements. But their senses are large and keen, and they gather the world in continuously, in a quiet, ongoing way. A zebra's ears are extraordinary things. They are large and rounded and mounted high on the head, and they can rotate almost independently of each other, swiveling forward and back and sideways, gathering sound from multiple directions at once. A grazing zebra may have both ears pointing in completely different directions, one tuned to a sound behind it, one monitoring something to the left. The ears move constantly, making small adjustments, sweeping the audio landscape for anything that might need attention. The eyes are placed on the sides of the head, which gives the zebra a field of vision of nearly 350 degrees. They can see almost all the way around themselves without moving their head. What they sacrifice in doing this is the depth perception that comes from having two eyes facing forward. But for an animal whose survival depends more on detecting the presence of danger than on judging exact distances, this wide-angle view of the world is a very good trade. A zebra's sense of smell is also highly developed, though less immediately obvious than its visual and auditory alertness. They use smell to identify individuals, to read the condition of other animals, to detect water sources from a surprisingly long distance. In the dry season, zebras have been known to travel toward water sources they cannot see or hear, following the faint thread of moisture in the air. Their hearing can detect the calls of other zebras across distances of more than a kilometer in open country. A zebra's contact call, a high two-syllable sound, almost like a bark, is how herd members stay in touch when they are spread out grazing, keeping a loose acoustic map of where everyone is. In all of this, the stripes contribute to a fully sensory life, not just visual information, but part of the larger story of how a zebra knows and moves through its world, seen and seeing, known and knowing. You are known too, in all the ways that matter. There is a particular quality to midday on the African savanna that is unlike any other time. The light is not golden then, it is white, flat and direct, and very bright, falling straight down from a sky that is hard and blue and offers no shade except what the animals carry in their own shadows, small and dark and pooled directly beneath their feet. This is the time when the savanna goes still. Most activity has already happened. The morning grazing, the waterhole visits, the early social interactions of the herd. Now, in the high heat, the animals rest. Zebras cluster in the shade of whatever trees the landscape offers. An acacia here, a thorn bush there. In open areas without shade, they simply stand, oriented so that the smallest possible surface area faces the sun. It is in this midday stillness that some of the most intimate behaviors of the herd become visible. Young foals, their energy finally spent by a morning of play and nursing, collapse into sleep right beside their mothers, legs folded, sides rising and falling in the steady rhythm of deep rest. The mothers stand watch. A small cluster of mares may groom each other slowly, barely moving, just the quiet nibbling, the shared warmth. The stripes in this flat white light look different than at any other time of day. The shadows that give them depth and softness in the morning are gone. The colors are stark, high contrast, vivid, and yet the overall impression of the resting herd is strangely peaceful. That bold, bright pattern applied to still, quiet bodies in the flat white silence of the noon. Scientists studying the thermoregulatory effect of stripes have found that the microconvection currents they may generate are most active in exactly this kind of direct high sun. If the stripes are doing any cooling at all, they are working hardest now, in the most demanding hours, in the way that good things often work, quietly, invisibly, exactly when they are most needed. You do not need to work now. You do not need to do anything. The high heat of the day has passed for you. The afternoon is already softening into evening. You are already moving toward rest. The zebra's world has changed. Over the past century, as human settlements and farmland have expanded across Africa, the ranges that zebras once moved through freely have become smaller, divided by fences and roads and the edges of land used for other purposes. Plains zebras remain relatively numerous. There are estimated to be around 500,000 of them across eastern and southern Africa. They are listed as near threatened rather than endangered, which means there is cause for care and attention, but also cause for genuine hope. Protected areas, national parks, game reserves, conservancies hold substantial populations, and in many regions, local communities have become deeply invested in the welfare of their wildlife, finding that the quiet presence of zebras and other animals is a gift worth protecting. Gravy zebras tell a more cautious story. Their numbers have fallen significantly over the past few decades, and they are now classified as endangered, with somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 individuals remaining in the wild. Most of them live in northern Kenya. Conservation efforts focused on gravy zebras include careful monitoring of individual animals, often using their distinctive stripe patterns as identification markers, photographed and cataloged the way a naturalist might archive fingerprints. Each unique stripe arrangement becomes a record, a known individual, a named presence in the larger story of the species. There is something moving about that, the very thing that makes each zebra individual. The stripe pattern, grown in those earliest silent weeks of life, becomes the thing that allows humans to track and protect them. The uniqueness that nature built for its own purposes finds a new use in the hands of people who want to help. Mountain zebras are endangered too, though conservation efforts in South Africa and Namibia have led to slow, careful recovery over the past few decades. Numbers have grown from a historic low of a few hundred to several thousand. It is not a dramatic rescue. It is a slow, patient, ongoing tending of something fragile and worth keeping. People are working quietly every day to ensure that the wide savanna keeps its stripes. We have traveled a long way together through the world of the zebra. We have walked in morning light and evening gold. We have watched foals find their feet and mothers watch over sleeping young. We have thought about lions and flies and rivers and rain, about genetics and deep time, about the patient scientists and the ancient artists, about the small birds on large backs and the long grass under careful teeth. And through all of it, the stripes have stayed. They have stayed the same way they always stay, steady, unhurried, present. Not changing with the light, not varying with the mood, simply there in every moment, on every individual, as they have been for millions of years. There is a quality to things that persist in this way that is different from the quality of things that are dramatic or sudden. Drama catches your attention and then releases it. Persistence settles into you. It becomes part of the background of the world, not something you notice consciously, but something you would immediately feel the absence of if it were gone. The zebra's stripe is like that. It has been part of the savanna's background for so long that the savanna itself seems, in some quiet way, to require it. The picture is not complete without it. The grass and the sky and the acacia tree and the distant shimmer of heat, all of it asks for something striped, moving slowly through it, grazing, resting, belonging. You have spent this time in that world, letting it come to you in the gentle way that the natural world offers itself to those who are still enough to receive it, not demanding anything, not rushing toward you, simply being there as it always is, as it always has been, patient and generous and quietly, enduringly beautiful. Take a slow breath now. Let it fill you all the way, and then let it go all the way. And again, the savanna is still there if you want it. The zebras are grazing in the late light, their stripes catching the last gold of the day. The grass is moving, the sky is large, everything is in its place. If this journey has been a good companion tonight, a like or a kind word in the comments means a great deal. It is what keeps these quiet evenings going. And whenever you need another, the playlist is waiting, full of peaceful places and unhurried stories, every one of them made just for moments like this one. Now close your eyes if they are not already closed. Let the savanna hold you. Let the stripes blur softly in the fading light, and rest. At the edge of the herd, a little apart from the grazing mares and the dozing foals, the stallion stands. He's not doing anything dramatic. He's not pacing or calling out. He is simply standing, head lifted, ears forward, watching. This is what a stallion does for much of his life. He watches. He is the outermost layer of the herd's awareness, the one whose attention is always oriented outward, toward the perimeter, toward whatever the world beyond the herd might be holding. The mares graze more freely because he is watching. The foals sleep more soundly because he is awake. The relationship between a stallion and his mares is not one of dominance in the harsh sense of the word. It is more like a long practiced partnership built up over years of shared experience. The mares have their own hierarchy among themselves. An older, experienced mare often leads the actual movement decisions of the group, choosing when to walk, which direction, where to drink. The stallion's role is different. He is the guardian of the boundary, the one who positions himself between the family group and any approaching threat. When a predator is detected, the stallion's response is characteristic. He does not run first. He often moves toward the rear of the fleeing group, placing himself between the herd and the danger, sometimes turning to face whatever is pursuing them, buying the others time. It is a behavior so consistent and so clearly purposeful that it is hard not to read it as something very close to protective devotion. His stripes in these moments are the last ones the predator sees before the herd disappears into the distance. The bold black and white pattern, the largest and broadest stripes of any adult in the group, moving at the back, holding the line. Young males who have not yet established their own families live in bachelor groups, small bands of 2 to 6, grazing together, playing together in the loose, testing way of young males figuring out who they are. Their stripes are fully adult, fully bold, but their role in the world is still forming. They are practicing the patience that the stallion's watch requires, learning slowly how to hold something in your care. The wind moves through the grass. The stallion's ear rotates once, settles. Whatever he heard was nothing. The herd continues in its peace. The savanna is a study in light. Not just golden hour light, not just the famous sunsets that photographers travel thousands of miles to capture, but the full range of it, from the thin gray blue of early dawn to the flat white blaze of noon, to the slow amber deepening of late afternoon. and then the lilac and rose of dusk, and finally the long blue darkness and the stars. Each of these lights does something different to the zebra's coat. At dawn, when the first pale brightness arrives from the east and the dew is still on the grass, the stripes are soft. The black is not yet fully black. It carries a slight warmth, a hint of brown. The white is not yet fully white. It is cool and silver. The whole animal seems gently rendered, as if drawn in soft pencil rather than ink. By mid-morning, the light has strengthened and the contrast has sharpened. Now, the stripes are what we usually picture: bold, clear, high contrast. The white seems to glow slightly, and the black is deep and matte. The boundary between the two is crisp. In the flat midday glare, as we have talked about, the colors are at their most extreme, the shadows short and dark, the light coming from directly above, every stripe at its most vivid. And then, as the afternoon progresses, the shadows lengthen again, and the light turns golden, and a zebra standing broadside to the setting sun takes on a quality that is almost luminous, the white stripes picking up the warm color of the light, the black stripes falling into relative shadow, the whole animal seeming to glow from within. At dusk, the colors begin to merge. The distinction between black and white softens. The herd in the fading light becomes a group of dark shapes, the stripes still present but quieter, already moving toward the gentle anonymity of night. And in moonlight, in the particular silver of a full moon over open country, the zebra is transformed again. The black stripes are not black. They are dark gray, deep charcoal. The white stripes are not white. They are the color of the moon itself, cool and faintly luminous. The same animal in the same coat, wearing a different quality of beauty in every different light, as if the stripes were designed to hold the full range of the day. We have spent so much of our time together looking at the zebra, at the coat, the stripes, the social world, the wide savanna sky. But let us look down for a moment. Let us look at what is beneath the zebra's feet, because the grass of the savanna is its own quiet world, and the relationship between zebra and grass is one of the deepest partnerships in the African landscape. The grasses of the East African savanna number in the hundreds of species. They are not all the same, not by any means. Some grow tall and coarse and fibrous, reaching to a zebra's chest by the end of the wet season. These are the tough pioneer grasses, the ones that colonize open ground and hold the soil in place. Others grow low and soft and nutrient-rich, close to the ground. The kind that come in after grazing animals have cropped the tall growth away. Zebras, as we mentioned, specialize in the tall, coarse grass. Their strong, broad teeth and robust digestive systems can process the fibrous material that would pass through a wildebeest or a gazelle with too little nutrition extracted. By eating the tall grass, they create space. They open the field, and into that opened space, the short, nutritious grasses flourish, providing food for the animals that follow. This is called a grazing succession, and it is one of the ways that the savanna maintains its extraordinary diversity. Each animal takes what it is built to take, and in doing so, makes room for others. The zebra is not taking from the wildebeest. It is, in a very real sense, preparing a table. The grass, for its part, is adapted to grazing. Most savanna grasses grow from the base rather than the tip, which means that even when the top is eaten, the growing part remains untouched, protected at ground level. Grazing, done at the right intensity, does not kill the grass. It stimulates it. A meadow that has been grazed returns, with rain, more lushly than one that has been left entirely alone. The grass needs the zebra needs the grass. Neither is the more important partner. Let that settle in you, the image of deep, unhurried interdependence, the world knitted together from the ground up, root by root, blade by blade. The zebra is not alone in wearing stripes. The world is full of striped creatures, and spending a little time with them tonight feels like a natural thing to do. Moving gently outward from the zebra to the broader, quieter truth that stripes are one of nature's most reached for tools. Consider the tiger, that great, patient cat moving through the tall grasses and dappled forests of Asia, its orange and black coat broken up by vertical stripes that seem to align with the vertical lines of bamboo and reed and shadow. A tiger in long grass is remarkably difficult to see, even knowing it is there. The stripes dissolving its outline into the visual noise of the environment. Here, stripes function as they are thought to partly function in zebras, breaking up the silhouette, making the boundary between creature and world harder to find. Consider the bumblebee, bold yellow and black bands worn as a warning rather than a concealment. For the bumblebee, the stripes say, "I sting. I am not worth the trouble. Leave me alone." This is a different use of the stripe, not hiding, but announcing, not dissolving, but declaring. Many striped insects use their pattern this way, as a clear and unmistakable signal to predators who have learned what those colors mean. Consider the striped hyena, quieter and less famous than its spotted cousin, with its shaggy coat marked in dark lines on pale fur. Consider the okapi, the forest-dwelling relative of the giraffe, with its striped hindquarters almost invisible in the dappled light of the Congo rainforest. Consider the little chipmunk, whose back carries 5 thin stripes that break up its outline as it moves through the broken light of a forest floor. Each of these creatures arrived at stripes from a different direction, through a different evolutionary path in response to different pressures and problems. And yet, the solution, again and again, is the same fundamental tool, alternating bands of light and dark applied to a body moving through a complex, textured world. Nature finds its good answers and reaches for them often. The stripe is one of them. The natural world is so generous with its patterns, so quietly, endlessly inventive, and all of it available to you whenever you need it, in stories like this one, in a playlist full of evenings just as soft as this. Here is a thought to hold very lightly as you drift toward sleep. The zebra does not know it is striped, not in the way that we know things, not as a piece of information it carries consciously, not as something it thinks about or is proud of or wishes were different. The zebra simply is what it is completely, without self-consciousness, without the particular human habit of standing slightly outside oneself and observing. It does not know that scientists have argued about its coat for 150 years. It does not know that its stripes are the result of a Turing-type reaction diffusion mechanism playing out in its embryonic skin cells. It does not know that its particular arrangement of stripes is unique among all the zebras that have ever lived. It does not know that artists have painted it, or that travelers have written home about seeing it for the first time, astonished. It knows the grass. It knows the smell of rain coming. It knows the sound of its foal's contact call and the familiar sight of its companion's shoulder in the morning light. It knows thirst and the relief of water. It knows the ease of the herd around it and the faint alertness that comes when something on the wind changes. It knows, in some animal way that does not require words, that it is where it belongs, in the grass, in the light, in the company of others who share its world. It knows the simple, enormous fact of being alive in a body that works, in a place that holds it. There is a kind of peace available in that, in the idea of being completely what you are, without needing to explain it or justify it or understand the deeper mechanisms of it. Simply wearing your own pattern, simply moving through the world that is yours, is simply, unhurriedly being. You do not need to understand everything tonight. You do not need to figure anything out. You can simply be the particular, unrepeatable arrangement that you are, at rest in the world that holds you. Let the stripes blur. Let the savanna soften. Let everything you know settle into the quiet background of a mind moving toward sleep. The night is deep now. The fire of the day has long since gone out of the sky, and the stars are fully present. More stars than you can count, more stars than you can begin to hold. The whole turning vault of them, enormous and calm, and so very far away, and yet somehow intimate tonight, somehow close, as if the distance were not distance, but simply depth. The zebra herd is settled. Most are standing in their loose, easy way, one hip dropped, eyes half closed, the subtle rhythm of breathing moving through each body in its own quiet time. 2 or 3 have lain down at the edge of the group, fully on their sides, legs loose, the whole weight of them given over to the ground. The ground receives them without comment. It has been receiving sleeping creatures for a very long time. A foal breathes beside its mother. Its small rib cage rises and falls, steady and even and absolutely without worry. Its stripes in the moonlight are the same stripes it was always going to have. Decided before it was born, carried faithfully from that first silent beginning into this peaceful night. They will be with it tomorrow, and the day after, and through all the days of its life. Constant, unhurried, simply there. There is dew beginning to form on the grass. You can imagine feeling it if you touched a blade. That cool, barely there moisture, the night's quiet gift to the earth. By morning, it will be gone, lifted back into the air by the rising sun, the same water continuing its long, slow journey through sky and cloud and rain and soil and blade of grass and dew, round and round, never lost, never wasted, always becoming the next thing it needs to be. You are part of that same world. Your breath is part of it. The slow warmth of your body here in the dark is part of it. You belong here in the same fundamental way that the zebra belongs on the plain, that the grass belongs in the soil, that the stars belong in their long turning. Nothing is required of you now, not understanding, not remembering, not holding any of this in any particular way. It is enough to have been here, to have let these quiet things come to you, to have rested in the company of the savanna for a little while. The herd breathes. The stars turn. The grass holds the dew. And you, here in your own quiet place, with your own particular pattern, your own unrepeatable self, you can let go now, all the way into the dark, into the rest, into the deep and peaceful night. Sleep well. The world will be here in the morning, striped and green and full of wonder, exactly as it always has been. It will be waiting for you without impatience, without any rush at all. Good night.